burial ceremony, his son Archelaus stated that his father's funeral would be extremely costly, and that all the crown jewels would be paraded before him and buried with him.
About cutting costs, huh? He planned the funeral down to the tiniest detail, wanting it to be the grandest of all funerals. Do you think that just because he's dead, he won't get you? Your blood is not yet cold, and already they're seeking to undermine you. Where's the crown?
I've been waiting for this half-breed Jew to leave us alone. 30 years, and I had begun to think it would not happen in my lifetime. And now, the happy day has arrived. Blessings to you.
And blessings to you.
On your way to the tyrant's funeral?
Certainly.
Come, join us. Today is the day of joy. The day when this Canaanite slave, this Edomite convert, this ruler by the grace of the Romans is headed for his tomb. This servile flatterer killed hundreds, perhaps thousands of Jews. He wiped out the Hasmonean dynasty, murdered his own wife, Mariam the Hasmonean, her mother, Alexandra, and his sons, Alexander and Aristobulus. Even his friend, the Roman Emperor Augustus, said that it was better to be his pig than his son. Thanks to God's help, we're rid of him.
My king, look at the crowd that has come from all over the empire to pay you final homage. But don't be mistaken. Antipas, your own flesh and blood, intends to undermine you. But do not worry, my king. As long as I am alive, I swear that the next king will be your son Archelaus, as you decreed.
It was a pleasure working with him.
A nightmare.
What are you talking about? He would itemize everything down to the tiniest detail, and when I brought him the final model...
He would have changed everything, you know.
A genius. I'll never forget when he presented his idea for the Northern Palace on Masada.
Oh, I broke my back just looking at the building plans. But, in the end, we built one of the grandest palaces in the whole world on that cliff.
He was brilliant. Caesarea.
Oh, Jerusalem?
In Caesarea, I planned a magnificent city with a port greater than the port in Rome.
Jerusalem, the temple.
Don't talk to me of Jerusalem with the arrogant designs of the Roman architects.
Herodion is arrogant.
Herodion is genius.
You didn't try to tell him it was impossible to see Jerusalem from there?
Everyone tried. He said it wasn't a problem, just double the height of the mountain.
But you, my friend, built one of the most magnificent theaters I have ever seen there. It broke my heart when I had to demolish it because he decided to build his tomb on that site.
He knew how to be cruel to everything.
Long live the dead king.
Long live the magnificent builder.
Let us honor him one last time. You know the story about the king and his donkey?
No, tell me about it.
I shall tell you.
Herodion. Now there's a place to be buried. You didn't name it after yourself for nothing. Do you remember why you specifically chose this site? Of course you do. When we fled from Jerusalem, exactly here, his mother's chariot overturned. You were certain she was dead and went out of your mind. You even wanted to take your own life. Then you decided you would be buried here.
How many wives did Father have?
Taurus the Edomite, Marianne the Hasmonean, Malthus the Samaritan, Mariam Boethius, Cleopatra of Jerusalem, Phaedra, Pilas, me. Who have I forgotten? I'm still missing two. Ah, the niece and cousin whose names I can't remember.
Did he love them all?
Your father was a real man. He had everything. Political skills, burning ambition, wit, aggression, and he was a marvelous husband too. Salomai, after they lead your father to his tomb, you'll hear a lot of unpleasant things. Don't you believe any of it. Your father was a wonderful man, loving and considerate. Come, Salomai. Let's go and see your father for the last time.
What you did here will affect many generations. But I already appreciate your accomplishments. The cities, the ports, the political ties. You succeeded in linking this remote province to the center of the world. Now you are ready, Herod the Great. The greatest of all. Depart on your final journey. Depart for Herodion.
Finally leave, we, and if not us, then our children, will smash the tyrant's grave and erase the memory of this evil man from our country. Amazing of King Herod's enterprises, and is the place where he chose to be buried and to commemorate his name. His tomb was robbed and taken apart in the 1st century CE, swallowed by the mountain, and remaining a mystery until it was discovered in 2007 by Professor Ehud Netzer. Professor Netzer fell to his death at Herodion the week he was working on Herod's funeral for this film. May his memory be blessed.
Hore nefoď, či to nepôjde. Ideme.
Myslím sobie, že som cvakla dobre, ale ja znam. Na to takiego pochowa, nie? Bardzo luksusno.
Môžeš výjsť do pivny, ktorú chceš, keď nevidíš.
Keď dáš stupeň a napúšťaš. Dobre.
Vyšačky. Pôjdeš? Chceš ísť stať? Dobre, keď sa povidíme.
Manžel išiel?
Jasné, on sa ne...
Ale na každú stranu, ne?
Však preto bola na kruhová pevnosť, nie? Hore. Zbúrenci tu boli, znáš, to je tak. Proti Rimánom. Tu bol amfiteátr, divadlo. Si ideme aj dole, lebo... A oni tam...
To sa aj tak bolo. Nemôžem to dať do kufra, lebo sa to skočí.
Už vyšli.
Počujeme, nie?
Už vyšli tu vonku.
Zatvára, pozor.
Kto vie, ako to bolo?
Jaj, že jak to vyzeralo. Áno. Chodí tu, bo nebudeš môcť natáčať, keď prídu ostatní. O, jedno dopredu. Áno, tak.
I have come back to Herodion, to this theater. Again, in the service of the king. But this time I was called not to build, but to demolish. King Herod, I did such amazing projects for him. And this theater was my work as well. But it's doomed now. The king has decided to alter Herodion altogether and transform the whole mountain into his mausoleum. Can you hear them? Those are the workers about to begin the demolition. Oh, what a pity. So few people had time to admire the artwork that decorates these walls. I remember well the exact moment when Herod gave the order to create them. He returned from one of his journeys with news. In just a few months, Marcus Agrippa, the emperor's second in command, will come on a royal visit, and he will be hosted here too, in Herodion. The palace was in a state of frenzied anticipation. The king gave orders to prepare for the visit by meeting the standards that Agrippa was accustomed to in Rome. The finest wine, preserved apples from Italy, fish sauce from Spain. But the most important task of all was the redecoration of the theater's royal hall. The king has his own reasons. He knows that even artwork can sometimes have political significance. The first thing the artists had to do was replaster the walls. After that, they sculpted the upper part of the room in stucco relief, a special kind of plaster. What a marvelous decoration it is. It gives the flat wall depth, like stone carvings. The artists divided the space of the walls with plaster columns, decorated with leaves and crowned by capitals. Between the columns, high up the walls, they designed windows with wooden blinds open to the view. Look carefully. They are not real windows, but paintings of windows hung on the walls. In all his building projects, Herod avoided images of animals or people in obedience to the biblical prohibition. But here, in this room, Herod made an exception to that custom. He gave orders to paint views of Egypt and the Nile, selected especially for the guest. After all, the conquest of Egypt by the emperor's army under Agrippa's command symbolizes the unity of the empire. Look, goats on a rocky cliff with a cypress tree and a shrine. And here a crocodile slides into the Nile. And this picture, a bull under a big tree in a pasture. And in the background, a boat at sea. And the colors are so vibrant and natural. Paintings like this were rare, even in Rome. For my workers, finishing the work before the visit seemed an impossible task. But Herod never accepted impossible as an option. Behold, the big moment has arrived. Marcus Agrippa, the emperor's second in command, has entered the harbor of Caesarea. The city was festively decorated, and crowds came out to greet the illustrious guest. And here began the journey that Herod had planned for Agrippa, into the heart of Judea, to the edge of the desert, to Herodion. As the visit progressed, Agrippa was more and more amazed. He did not expect to find such splendor and grandeur at the remote edge of the empire. He smiled with pleasure when he identified the wine from a famous Italian vineyard as his own favorite back home. But Herod had one more surprise for Agrippa, the high point of all his gestures of esteem. Herod led him to the second floor of the royal guest hall. Agrippa was deeply moved as he stood in front of a painting of a naval battle. He recognized it at once. The Battle of Actium, his greatest triumph, where he had defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra, handing Egypt to the Emperor Augustus on a silver platter. The depiction was so vivid that Agrippa's memories came flooding back, and for a brief moment, he felt the paintings come to life. Oh, King Herod, he knew how to please those he needed to, but also to arouse fear. This cruel man was enormously talented, a lion and a fox in one. His reign was remarkable. The kingdom flourished, trade prospered, people lived well. Despite the venomous criticism aimed at him, I always thought we should not forget the greatness of the man who changed Judea more than all his predecessors. But years go by, and the king feels his end is near, and the show will not go on forever. So he has brought us here, again, to this very room, but this time to demolish it, to cover it with earth, and turn the entire mountain into the eternal mausoleum of Herod, king of Judea. The royal hall has now become the sleeping quarters of the demolition crew. In the last days of the theater, everyone tries to leave his mark on these walls. One etches a maze or a rosette, another draws a boat with a piece of charcoal. I, too, feel that my end is near. This will apparently be my last assignment. But before I leave this world, I would like to learn one thing. Is it true that everything is destined to disappear with time? In 2,000 years from now, will anyone still know who Herod, king of Judea, was? Who knows? Perhaps somewhere, far into the unforeseeable future, this theater will again be full of people, and the sounds of talk and music. Who knows?
Nie.
No to vychodí, pojď.